Welcome to Wicked Shizuku's Reviews, bringing you a southern perspective on books, movies, music, and much, much more. Stick around for a while, you just might hear something wicked. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to episode 71 of Wicked Shizuku's Reviews Reads, and this is going to be a Monday read, so let's transition over to our reading screen. Okay, so I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope you're ready for your inaugural address. And this one is going to be Zachary Taylor, which is a shorter inaugural address, so you will get a double episode. All right, so let's jump into it. Zachary Taylor, inaugural address, March 5th, 1849. Now, there's a strange happenstance right there. Why March 5th? I'm going to have to look into that and see why. All of the others have been March 4th. Up until then. Elected by the American people to the highest office known to our laws, I appear here to take the oath prescribed by the Constitution, and in compliance with the time-honored custom, to address those who are now assembled. The confidence and respect shown by my countrymen in calling me to be Chief Magistrate of a republic holding a high rank among the nations of the earth have inspired me with feelings of the most profound gratitude. But when I reflect that the acceptance of the office which their partiality has bestowed imposes and discharge of the most arduous duties and involves the weightiest obligations, I am conscious that the position which I have been called to fill, though sufficient to satisfy the loftiest ambition, is surrounded by fearful responsibilities. Happily, however, in the performance of my new duties, I shall not be without able cooperation. The legislative and judicial branches of the government present prominent examples of distinguished civil attainments and matured experience, and it shall be my endeavor to call to my assistance in the executive departments individuals whose talents, integrity, and purity of character will furnish ample guarantees for the faithful and honorable performance of the trusts to be committed to their charge. With such aids and an honest purpose to do whatever is right, I hope to execute diligently, impartially, and for the best interests of the country, the manifold duties devolved upon me. In the discharge of these duties, my guide will be the Constitution, which I this day swear to preserve, protect, and defend. For the interpretation of that instrument, I shall look to the decisions of the judicial tribunals established by its authority, and to the practice of the government under the earlier presidents, who had so large a share in its formation. To the example of those illustrious patriots, I shall always defer with reverence, and especially to his example, who was by so many titles the father of his country, to command the Army and Navy of the United States with the advice and consent of the Senate, to make treaties and to appoint ambassadors and other officers, to give to Congress information of the state of the Union, and recommend such measures as he shall judge to be necessary, and to take care that the laws shall be faithfully executed. These are the most important functions entrusted to the President by the Constitution, and it may be expected that I shall briefly indicate the principles which control me in their execution. Chosen by the body of the people, under the assurance that my administration would be devoted to the welfare of the whole country and not to support of any particular section or merely local interests, I this day renew the declarations I have heretofore made and proclaim my fixed determination to maintain, to the extent of my ability, the government in its original purity, and to adopt as the basis of my public policy those great republican doctrines which constitute the strength of our national existence. In reference to the Army and Navy, lately employed with so much distinction on active service, care shall be taken to ensure the highest condition of efficiency, and in furtherance of that object, the military and naval schools, sustained by the liberality of Congress, shall receive the special attention of the executive. As American freemen, we cannot but sympathize in all efforts to extend the blessings of civil and political liberty, but at the same time we are warned by the admonitions of history and the voice of our own beloved Washington to abstain from entangling alliances with foreign nations. In all disputes between conflicting governments, it is our interest, not less than our duty, to remain strictly neutral, while our geographical position, the genius of our institutions and our people, the advancing spirit of civilization, and above all, the dictates of religion, direct us to the cultivation of peaceful and friendly relations with all other powers. It is to be hoped that no international question can now arise which a government, confident in its own strength and resolved to protect its own just rights, may not settle by wise negotiation, and it eminently becomes a government like our own, founded on the morality and intelligence of its citizens, and upheld by their affections, to exhaust every resort of honorable diplomacy before appealing to arms. In the conduct of our foreign relations, I shall confirm to these views, as I believe them essential to the best interests and the true honor of the country. The appointing power vested in the President imposes delicate and onerous duties. So far as it is possible to be informed, I shall make honesty, capacity, and fidelity indispensable prerequisites to the bestowal of office, and the absence of either of these qualities shall be deemed sufficient cause for removal. It shall be my study to recommend such constitutional measures to Congress as may be necessary and proper to secure encouragement and protection to the great interests of agriculture, commerce, and manufacturers, to improve our rivers and harbors, to provide for the speedy extinguishment of the public debt, to enforce a strict accountability on part of all officers of the government, and the utmost economy in all public expenditures. But it is for the wisdom of Congress itself, in which all legislative powers are vested by the Constitution, to regulate these and other matters of domestic policy. I shall look with confidence to the enlightened patriotism of that body to adopt such measures of conciliation as may harmonize conflicting interests and tend to perpetuate that union which should be the paramount object of our hopes and affections. In any action calculated to promote an object so near the heart of every one who truly loves his country, I will zealously unite with the coordinate branches of the government. In conclusion, I congratulate you, my fellow citizens, upon the high state of prosperity to which the goodness of the divine providence has conducted our common country. Let us invoke a continuance of the same protecting care which led us from small beginnings to the eminence we this day occupy, and let us seek to deserve that continuance by prudence and moderation in our counsels, by well-directed attempts to assuage the bitterness which too often marks unavoidable differences of opinion, by the promulgation and practice of just and liberal principles, and by an enlarged patriotism which shall acknowledge no limits but those of our own widespread republic. Now, so if some didn't know, Zachary Taylor also passed away while in office, and unlike William Henry Harrison, he was in office for about 18 months or so before he passed away of a stomach disease. They didn't they haven't actually updated that to what exactly it was he died from, but they said it was from some ailment of the stomach. So there's a little trivia for you about Zachary Taylor. And I shall see you right after the break, and we will be back with some saucy Ovid right after this break. See you on the other side. And welcome back to our Monday reads. So let me change our image and we shall jump into The Art of Love and Other Love Books by Ovid. So we are going to be reading Elegy number 13. He entreats the dawn to hasten not her coming. Lo, over the ocean doth she come, from the arms of her aged husband. Over the waves she cometh, the bright goddess whose car brings back the day. O beautiful Aurora, whither dost thou hasten? Stay, oh stay thy flight, stay. So yearly may the birds make solemn offering to the shades of Memnon. This is the time when I love to lie in my sweet one's sheltering arms. This, if ever, is the moment when 'tis sweet to press her softly to my side. Now, too, sleep is pleasant, and the air cool, and the birds discourse sweet music from their tender throats. Whither fleetest thou? With a speed to men, and to their mistresses unwelcome? Draw in with thy shining hand the dewy reins of thy swift coursers. Ere thou risest, the mariner can clearly see the stars, and wandereth not at random over the wide seas. When thou dost appear, the traveller, for all his weariness, must quit his couch, and the soldier seize his fighting gear. Thou art the first to behold the husbandman shouldering his mattock, the first to call the lagging oxen to the yoke. Thou robbest children of their sleep, and handest them over to the master for their tender fingers to suffer the blows of his cruel rule. Thou bringest the surety to the court, where a single word may make or mar him. To advocate and to judge thou art alike unfriendly, for each is forced to rise to take up a case. 'Tis thou who, when a woman would fain taste the sweets of repose, callest to her to spin the wool with unwearying hands. All this I could endure, but who would bear that young woman should rise thus early in the morning, save the man that hath no mistress of his own? How often have I longed that night would not make way for thee, that the stricken stars would not flee before thee. How often have I longed for the winds to shatter thy car, or for one of thy steeds to founder in the hollow of a cloud. Ah, cruel one, whither dost thou hasten, since thou hadst a son whose skin was black? Such was the color of his mother's heart. Would that Tithonius were free to speak his mind about thee. The heavens, I trow, would ne'er have known a more lascivious woman. Thou fleetest from thine aged spouse, because old age hath chilled him, and leavest the old man betimes to mount thy hateful car. But if in thine arms thou heldst thy favourite Cephalus, thou wouldst cry, go slow, ye coursers of the night, and through thy spouse be wasted with old age. And though thy spouse be wasted with old age, wherefore should my love pay the penalty? Was it I that led thee to mate an old man? See how many hours of sleep the moon gave to the youth she loved, and her beauty is no whit inferior to thine. The Father of the gods himself, that he might not behold thy face so often, joined 2 nights in one, so as to let his passions have full play. Thus did I upbraid her. Be sure she heard me, for she blushed, howbeit the day appears no later than his wont. It was quite beautiful and very lyrical in this particular elegy, so I hope you liked it. And if you did like it, and you found this educational, if you found it enjoyable, would you give me a like, subscribe, and share? And we can keep going. And you can find me now on Rumble under Wicked Shizuku's Reviews on the new channel. Over there, if you would rather watch over there instead of watching over here on YouTube. I'm not sure if there's an actual Rumble playlist to where I can put them in separate playlists like I did on YouTube, so do be mindful of that. But other than that, I hope you have a good evening. Good night, everyone.